Hey everyone, Chris with SoCal Reels here. Just going to go over a quick tutorial on how to maintain your spinning reels, especially for salt water. We want to make sure we maintain these so they don't get corroded. First thing is we're going to go over what we going to need. I use a spray bottle with distilled water. You can use tap water as well, but I prefer distilled water because distilled water it does not have any minerals in it, so it'll dry spot free. You won't, it does not going to leave anything behind. I know guys use water hose, you can do that, but I just recommend just putting it on a fine mist setting because you're going to introduce water with all the pressure inside the reel in areas that it does not belong. So then we're going to need some reel oil. I use Corrosion X. This is what this is here. I sell these, but these have a needle tip. There's many different brands that you could purchase, for real oil, but this is what I prefer. And use a detail brush. This is just to get in areas where you can't reach, and with the towel, you can just kind of brush that stuff out. And then microfiber towels. You need a couple of these, 2 or 3 of these, just to make sure, dry everything off. Got one down here to absorb water. And then this is optional, but this is a slick rod ceramic wax. This helps protect once the reel is done and dry. You spray a coating of this on it. Every reel that I service here at SoCal Reels gets a coating of this to help protect the reel. So first step, let's get started on this. First step will be tighten your drag down. This is every reel that you're going to clean with water. Make sure you tighten your drag down. That's going to compress your drag disc so you don't get water inside the drag disc. Especially if you're using the hose, you're using too much pressure there. It's going to get inside the drag, and the drag disc is going to absorb the water, and you don't want that. So tighten down your drag, and then we'll just go ahead and start and spray everything down. The spinning reels, you want to do a top down. So spray down. You don't want to spray it this way because you're going to get water underneath the spool where you don't want it. So spray everything down, the line, everything, handle. Remember, especially for salt water reels, spray your line really well because you're going to get layers and layers of salt water inside the line there that you can't get. So just try to spray that down as well. All right, and then once you got all that wet, you can just dry everything off. And then you can use the detail brush here if you got areas on your reel that you can't get to. Like in here, between these crevices here, you can see there's junk here. This is where you use the brush because you won't be able to get in there with a towel, right? So use the brush to get that. There's sand in here and stuff. Just to clean out as much as you can. Obviously, you're not going to get everything out with this, but as much as you can. And then just continue to dry everything else off. Try to get as dry as possible. Get between the spool here. And then dry your line as much as possible. I use compressed air here, but I know not everybody has air compressor, so just dry it with your towel as much as possible here. And by using distilled water, you don't have to worry about minerals, calcium buildup inside your line because it's distilled water, so it does not have any of that stuff. So highly recommend using distilled water. All right, everything's dry for the most part. And then Next step is let's remove our handle. Usually what we do here is just grab the spool and you can back off your handle. This should not be overly tight. You don't want to, when you tighten this back on, you don't want to crank it because you could strip the screws out or break, you know, damage a gear inside. So you don't really need this to be super tight because it's reverse thread, so it's opposite of the direction that you're reeling. So when you're reeling, it's actually tightening it every time, right? So just back it off. You can take this out completely. And you got a little moisture in here, see? Dry this up. And then also remove this cap that's on the opposite end of the handle. Kind of dry it. So there's a bearing there and there's a bearing on this side. So we want to get some of that oil. Just need a drop or two there. We don't need a lot. And let's put the cap back on. Doesn't need to be super tight either. Just put that back on so it doesn't fall off. And then we'll reattach our handle here. Like I said, just, you don't need it to be crazy tight, just a little pretty snug. So that's good. We took care of the two bearings there. Now we can, depending on your handle, we can put a drop of oil here. There's a bearing here, and the bearing, there's usually two bearings on each handle. So bearing, drop of oil there. This one comes apart. You can unscrew it, but if you can't get to it, that's why this, it's even better to use this needle tip. You can just reach in there and put a couple of drops of oil, and that'll go down and then lubricate that bearing on top. So that's all done. Then on here, we'll loosen our drag completely. Take this off. And if this is dirty, you can wipe in here. Take this off, inspect it. You can see this is a little dirty here. So this is another reason why you want to make sure you clean all this stuff, because stuff gets in here. There's sand in here. If you have air, this is a good time to kind of blow some of that stuff out of there. But if you don't, just wipe it. Or if you have Q-tips, you can use that as well. Then I put a drop of oil on the spool shaft here, and that's going to go up and down, you'll see, and kind of work its way into the housing there. So that's done. Then we can look at our spool here. There's some junk in there too. We can just kind of wipe in here. And if you have air, you can blow some of that stuff out too. Pretty simple. So that's clean. Put this back on here. And then you can clean the cap here too. And on, just like every other reel, when you store your reel, you don't want your drag to be tight. You only want to tighten your drag when you're cleaning it, right? When you're rinsing it off. So like right now, I'm going to store this, so just leave it loose. Doesn't matter. It's not going to hurt anything. You don't want the pressure of the drag while you have it in storage. Just keep it loose. So when you're ready to go fish, you can tighten it wherever you want it. So leave that loose. And then there's a bearing in here. So if you can, if you feel comfortable, you can back this screw off just a little bit. You don't need to remove it, just back it off, and it'll separate this. And then there's roller here, and you could better access the bearing that's inside here. Usually there's one or two bearings depending on the type of reel. Some don't even have a bearing, but so just put some oil here if you don't want to remove that screw or back out that screw. And you're trying to get oil on the outer side of that roller. That roller is just a piece of metal there, right? So if you put oil in there, it's not going to affect anything. You want to get inside the bearings here. So there's a little seam there you can get. Best thing to do is back this screw off just enough to where it separates, and then put oil and then tighten the screw back. I might make another video about that. So just dry off residual oil here, and you can put a drop, you know, anywhere there's movement here, right? So you can see their bell. It's got the pivot points there. Oil inside there, a little bit here. And just work everything back and forth just so I get the oil worked in there. You don't need a lot of oil, just a drop here and there. Oh, that feels better, much better already. So make sure you get that all worked in there. And that's about it. And then, like, it's optional, of course. Like I said, if you want to use the slick rod ceramic wax, you can spray that onto a dry towel once your reel is completely dry, and then wipe it all down with that and just let it sit, and then you're ready to put it away. So that's it. Thank you, guys.